Vin. This is Testament. Something about Serenity. What is it? Return to Serenity, ladies and gentlemen.
That would be nice.
What you just saw earlier was the
Sin and Glory
intro. Sin and Glory is ran by the worst Madden player of all time, Chris Culp.
I think it would be run by. You know what? I read a post that basically said anybody who corrects other people's grammar is basically a dick.
Stop dodging me, Chris. Stop dodging me.
Oh,
me
I know,
Chris is supposed to have a match.
I know.
He was supposed to download Madden 21. By the way, patrons, if you guys...
I've heard what happens when you play together.
Yeah, patrons, if you guys want to check your boy on Madden, I put all my stuff up there, so check out the page on Patreon there, patrons, we'll hook you up. Be on the lookout. We have a update video coming out pretty soon on the relaunch of Patreon. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it. Having said that, what is that little video clip you saw at the beginning of the video? Well, that video clip is from an alliance. What's an alliance? $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You join the alliance, you pool your points together, and then that helps determine what songs we listen to. Now, if you're a filthy capitalist like Sori and you don't want to be part of an alliance, you can do the Ronin option or the filthy capitalist option. 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You do that 3 times, you get knocked down to the $75 rate.
For all perpetuity. How can you forget that?
Having said that, this is the band Testament. I think we've done one of their songs. The name of this song is Return to Serenity. And I got the lyric.
Look at that picture that's up there. Return to Serenity. He's like, bah!
Yeah. Now, these guys sent the official video. The reason we're not doing the official video is actually the same reason we do Patreon, which is... namely, that when you do the official video, it gets blocked. Right. So, for example, we just did an Evanescence song. We did the official video. It got blocked, so the vast majority of you didn't see it. So, keep that in mind. Okay.
But we're going to have the official going on the side, so we'll still see what's going on, which is... Right. We can't play it for you.
There's ways to circumvent getting blocked, right? All we could do is we could stop the video every 30 seconds or so, and that would solve the problem for us. This is why a lot of the other reactors do that. We don't do that because we want to hear the song all the way through. Okay.
Respect the artist.
Yeah, enough of that. All right, let's go. Ready?
Hold on. Wait. Ready? Wait. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh, you actually have the video on your side. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
I'm gonna take you to a place far from here. No one will see us watch the pain as it disappears. No time for anger, no time for despair. Won't you come with me? There's room for us there. The sinners in Eugene.
There we go.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Serenity!
That had a smooth kind of sound to it.
It was smooth.
It fit the Serenity.
Shout out to all our friends. We accidentally
we're
now doing a fire stream.
Who knew? We didn't know.
We had no idea. So fire stream is when you when we do a this, but we do it in live stream simultaneously so that our folks can experience.
Apparently, Vinny hit the live button and we didn't know we were live.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay though. Okay, so that song was that was kind of like a Fade to Black type. I remember this band because people were really mad at me because I was like, oh, these guys sound like Metallica.
Oh.
I was like, oh, they copied off Metallica. And people were like, you idiot, they came out the same time as Metallica, you dumb butt. You know, whatever. So all the Testament fans were mad at me. Idiot. But hey, this one was really, really good. So
I like when he said, well, first he says, I'm going to take you to a place far from here. No one will see us. Watch the pain as it disappears.
Right.
No time for anger, no time for despair. Won't you come with me? There's room for us there. I liked the no time for anger, no time for despair.
Why?
Because that does happen. Like when stuff is just too busy, like you don't have time to deal with certain things and you have to just let certain things drop off. Like,
yeah,
it's such a weird analogy, but like if you're obsessed with cleaning and you literally have an X amount of time, like I used to like to get everything done to like a T. Everything was like completely, and now it's like time is so limited, and anytime I'm cleaning something, it's in between screaming babies or kids getting into stuff. So it's like some stuff you just put to the side and just focus on what you have to do. So when he was saying if there was no time for anger there, no time for despair, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he's trying to take this girl, though.
Well, I know.
Because he
Kind of
says,
scary.
he says, I'm going to take you to a place far from here. No one will see us. Watch the pains that disappears, yada, yada, yada. But then you go down, I'm so alone. My head's my home. So, like, this place is all in his head. It appears to me. Because it says his head is his home, which I'm assuming means he's, you know, lost in thought and all the rest of it. So I'm like, I talked about this before. This place called Willoughby. It was a Twilight Zone episode. You remember that one?
Yeah, yep.
That was a freaky Twilight Zone episode. And sorry guys if this is a spoiler. If you ever end up watching if you ever end up watching the that show, it's basically this guy was like, you know, he was a regular kind of cubicle office type guy, but he had all these worries and, you know, bills or whatever, and so he'd take the train to work every day, and he'd fall asleep, and when he'd sleep, he'd dream of this place called Willoughby.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was a nice town. There was no stress. See, Johnny Melancholy saw it. You know, like, the guy was like stressed out. He was down on his luck, and then he would go and dream about Willoughby, and then, you know, he'd have to leave Willoughby every time he woke up. And so then there was this last time, and it was like, okay, you can go to Willoughby, and I think one of the kids was like, well, do you want to stay here, mister? You can stay here if you want. And long story short, he goes, yes, I want to stay in Willoughby. And they said, all right, come on down. And then he, you know, kind of fades out. It's like, oh, he lives happily ever after. And then it turns out that in the real world, he jumped off the train track to his death or whatever. And that's how he ended up in Willoughby forever. So, like, I'm listening to this guy. He's like, I'm going to take you far from here, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, my head is my home. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Where are you taking this person? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's, you know, it's kind of on my mind a little bit because I just got done watching that what do you call it? It was a mini-series on HBO. It was a documentary about Marshall Applewhite and the Heaven's Gate cult. And those people, like, I was trying to analyze And anytime these people get caught up in these death cults, I always say to myself, like, okay, were you already suicidal and crazy?
Yep.
And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just chose to do that because you just got drawn to a death cult.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you were already suicidal and crazy, and you're just trying to add some meaning or give yourself the final push to go over. Or are you a regular person, and then you get sucked into this ideology, and then you really truly get convinced that
those people
this is what you
convinced.
should do. Well,
they look convinced.
Okay, so the hardest part for me about that documentary, and again, I don't want to give any spoilers, but there was one guy, I don't know if you saw it because you were kind of like in and out of consciousness, but there was one guy who escaped so these guys, they all basically, I don't know what they did. They drank the Kool-Aid because they were trying to catch this spaceship that was behind the Hale-Bopp comet, okay? So, like, there's a couple people that left the cult right before these guys all killed themselves. And so they were talking, as a matter of fact, I want to say that the guy that called and reported the deaths,
he had received a letter. Oh, you didn't want to say too much.
He received a letter and basically said, hey, we're going to die, blah, blah, blah. And so then he was the one that actually, I think, called the police and said, hey, there's a mass suicide, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they discovered these 39 bodies, and then they start talking. He started doing these talk shows, and they were like, this is a horrible tragedy, but a waste. And then he basically told the people, like, well, I don't know if it's a waste or not.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh? I was up there practicing at the time, and I'm like, I'm trying to fall asleep, but I was up like that. And then I saw that, I was like, huh? It was like one of those,
yeah.
And I was like, what did you just say? And sure enough, they did like a little 2-minute spiel on him, and he ended up killing himself.
Yep.
And then another guy did.
Yep.
Because they felt like they had missed their bus.
Yep.
And, so they decided they were going to jump on the bus.
That's so crazy. That's so messed up.
Yeah, man.
Especially because if you were, like, if your family, like in your family, they separated them from their families and they would tell them not to contact their families. And I think that happens in a lot of like cults. But anyway.
Yeah.
So that was going on. And then if like, let's say your brother was hanging out with this crew and then your brother left and then the whole crew ended up dead.
Yeah.
And then you were like so glad your brother like made it out of that. And then like within a month he joins them. Oh gosh.
Well, it's a very, very, Joe Rogan did there's this little clip of Joe Rogan where he talks about what's the difference between a cult and a religion. And it's like...
Yeah, what did he say?
Well, he was basically saying, it was very interesting because Joe at times seems very hostile towards Christianity, which, it's fine, but...
Really?
But it's really a provocative question, like, because it's like, this guy was saying his way was the only way and he needed to be listened to, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's exactly what Jesus was saying. Mm-hmm. Of course, the difference is that Jesus was doing a whole bunch of supernatural shit.
Right.
He wasn't going around saying, just believe what I have to say. I mean, there was a prophetic angle, and then there was the impossible to keep law that he kept to perfection. Mm-hmm. John 8, who can convict me of sin? And then, of course, you have the resurrection. What's interesting is that in Christianity, Jesus was saying, yeah, you guys are going to die because other people are going to kill you. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, you guys are going to die because we're all going to hang out in a death cult and catch a cab up in, Alpha Centauri or whatever. It was, people are going to kill you because you're doing this. We're change agents to the prevailing zeitgeist. And anytime you're a change agent, that shit's going to happen to you. Okay, fine. But I think one of the main differences between a cult and a religion is that in an authentic religion, you have some sort of supernatural confirmation. Whereas in a cult, you just have a very charismatic leader.
Yes.
Who essentially takes from his followers and then generally leads them down to some crazy path or whatever. So if you look at the different, even like, obviously I don't believe that Muhammad is a true prophet in the biblical sense. But even Muhammad, I mean, again, there were claims of supernaturalism, and he wasn't saying go kill yourself. He was saying we're going to go kill people and we're going to go to war, which,
right.
Again, if you look at the prevailing society, I mean, Americans don't realize is that we're a militant society. Mm-hmm. We're a Spartan society.
Yep.
We've been at war for the vast majority of the existence of our country.
Yep.
And so much so that many Americans believe that the ways that countries start is through war. There's a lot of Americans believe that the way that countries begin is through war and killing. Mm-hmm. It's because ours started that way.
Right.
So, like, it's a very, very interesting question. And again, I'm not saying that this song, like, this is like the song of a cult leader. I think this is a lonely guy who wants somebody to come with him. Right? Rhyme without reason is why children cry. They see through the system that's breeding them just so they die. Right? So it's like, that's one of those, like, commonalities, common threads with cult leaders where they find people who have a dissatisfaction with the current seats in Laban, which is everybody, and they go, you're special because you're dissatisfied with it, or they'll say, you see something other people don't see. Mm-hmm. And it gives people a sense of, oh.
People want to be connected to something bigger than themselves.
And they want an explanation for why they don't fit in. Mm-hmm. So in our community, like, oh, you don't fit in because we're metalheads and we found each other and we found our tribe, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's that can be very, very healthy. But then, and that's where we were, right? We were in the inner city, and our folks got judged by everybody around them.
Yep.
So much so that when they died of exposure or drug overdose, people would say, "Aha, that's great, another trash," So then we were able to take that and say, "Hey, we've got something else to offer you here." But I remember when we first got down there, I told everybody in the group, I was like, listen, people are going to ask why you're here, right? And I made a point to say, tell everybody, we're not their saviors. Mm-hmm. We're not here to save them. We're not even here to help Jesus save them. We're here to kind of lay a foundation. They're going to save their own city, right? And so we push the responsibility back onto them because that was in my mind, like, I didn't want people to become so dependent on us. You have that, like, missionary sort of attitude.
Yeah.
Where the missionary, like, floats in there as the savior, and the missionary becomes the savior of the people instead of Jesus. And yeah, Jesus is kind of there as a figurehead, but the real person they're loyal to is the missionary. So I wanted to make sure we weren't doing that. And I think we did a decent... It's funny. We did a very good job of that with our targets. Mm-hmm. But the inner core group itself were horrible at that. They just jumped onto one guy and was like held on to that dude for dear life as if he was a savior.
You think, like, because after you left, that movement kind of like, no, you're right. They were like, they were clung on to that one person, and so then after that was all over with, it kind of fell. But then it kind of makes you wonder, like, maybe God's doing something down there that we can't see right now, and all of a sudden a little group will pop up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
I went down there and Jesus was written like 1 billion times all over the place down there. You know what I mean? Like, so it's still active,
Well, yeah, as like I said, a lot of these guys, a lot of the city folk got it more than the churched people did.
Yeah.
But, like I said, like, everybody, see, that's why this song is so important. Everybody feels that unease. And everybody wants to find that place that can bring them serenity. People just, people want
You're right.
peace.
Won't you come with me? Salvation will share inside of my head now. There's room for us there.
Right.
See, I was kind of wondering if serenity was somebody that because he talks about when he was younger. Where did it say that? There's room for us there. The innocence, beauty, the words can't describe. We shared in my youth, right there. So please let me take you and I'll show you the truth inside my reality we shared in my youth. So I was kind of wondering if it was a double, And there was a girl named Serenity that him and they had a relationship when he was younger, and that relationship's not there. He wants her to join him again.
Yeah.
Inside of, because you can kind of get stuck in like, if you had like this like awesome relationship when you were young, and you think that that's like, you can get trapped there. I've seen people do it. I've seen people get trapped in what they remember of a relationship and think, if I'd be in that relationship, I'd be happy. The grass is always greener on the other side type of thing. Or, you know.
Well, I'm happy to be with you.
Oh, that's nice.
You, the grass was definitely
no
greener with her.
No. Oh, what? Oh. No, I mean like, you're not just like just your past marriage, but
being able to sleep without thinking that your spouse is gonna bludgeon you to death.
Well, yes.
That's some pretty green grass.
That is green grass. But I'm saying even before that. I'm saying like when you were 16 and, you know, that awesome girlfriend you had. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could look at that and be like, oh, well, because it's not like, you know, you didn't live life with that person. So you had a span of time and it was teenage years. And so there's sort of like, there's things that you don't experience and frustrations that you don't have as a teenager. So you might think, oh, that would have been better over there.
Yes.
But it's like, well, you don't know because you never lived out regular life with that person.
Teenage. Yeah,
I remember. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember years ago.
Some carefree.
I remember years ago telling you that about that person that you thought you were in love with.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys never did. You know, like that is such a deceptive time to.
Yeah, I didn't believe you, but I do now.
It's such a deceptive time, quote unquote, to fall in love as a teenager because you're at a very interesting spot. It's like on the one hand, like you can drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's you can stay out till 12, 1, 2, or 3 o'clock.
I couldn't,
but simultaneously, you have none of the real responsibilities that an actual, and you've got a little scratch. You got some money.
Right.
So it's like the optimal situation that you will never have again until you're retired.
I know.
So, like, it just, salam alaikum.
I know. It's so funny because the other day I was watching, you know, like everybody always complains about stuff, you know, so our kids do have a lot that they're dealing with, but like one of our kids is very much into writing right now, and she was like, I just didn't have time to do my writing. And I was like, you know how long it's been since I've had time to sit down and write? Like, you missed one day and you're about to come unglued. I'm like, but they're kids, and I remember like sitting on my bed in my room and having plenty of time to like write and have time to process or do my hair or do my nails. And, you know, like now we've got 6 kids, a YouTube channel, another business we're trying to run. Like, luckily we don't have a dog, but there's so much that there's no time. I know we
had a dog. Shout out to the homie.
Both of them.
Somebody actually unsubscribed from the channel. Did I tell you about that?
Because of that dog, yeah. Because we got rid of the dog.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was in the dog's best interest to go.
Yeah, it was.
It really was.
For sure.
I misunderstood where everybody was at.
Yeah, so he that's what I'm saying. He's this is kind of like the soundtrack of a cult leader, man.
Inside my reality. I'm so alone. My head's my home, and I feel so alone.
That's the other thing that.
At last, I returned to serenity.
That's the other thing about cult leaders. I was also watching one about not just Marshall Applewhite. He was in March of '97, and I remember that because Big got killed, and then like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I'm watching all these people on the Today Show, and they're taking their bodies out. But before him, there was also. Who's that guy that was calling himself David Koresh, you know, from the Branch Davidian compound. And I remember him because they stormed his place on my birthday. That's when they killed all those people they did that shit on my birthday, bro. But part of me feels like, okay, these guys are attracting, you know, mostly lonely, disaffected people. Most of them. Very few of the times when I know see
none
like
of those
the family
people look like alphas.
Well, you can be an alpha male and still be an outsider. As a matter of fact,
no. I thought we were talking about the cult. All those people that were in that video, they all, I'm sorry, but they all looked like weak following people, like that were looking for something. Like they had like this timidness to them. None of them seemed like leaders.
I don't know.
Which one looked like a leader to you?
Well, Marshall Applewhite was the leader. And he wasn't really the leader. It was that woman that was actually the leader. T. he actually reported to her. As a matter of fact,
Well, I don't know. They were saying the opposite partway through.
no, they were saying that they thought he was the leader, and then when they got inside, they actually saw that, and he called her his leader. He explicitly said, "She's my elder," whatever. But what's interesting is Marshall Applewhite. There were 4 waves of people who died. Mm-hmm. They had the whole thing planned out. There were 4 waves. They were doing it in groups of 10, basically. He was in wave 2. Like, you'd figure he'd be the last one to go, because he's the one organizing everything, and that people were like, because you figure, I always assumed he was the last to die because you kind of need him to kind of keep everybody on task. He was in wave 2. So all those people after him, they kept dying after him. So even that guy, like, you've got to think about where you have to be mentally. All those 40 people are dead. The whole world is going, oh my God, what a waste. And then this guy jumps on and says, hey guys, wait for me, and then does himself in. Like, imagine the mental fortitude you have to make that decision.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, that guy, to me, that's an alpha type personality. Like, because everybody else, one of the markers of an alpha personality is they can do shit by themselves, and other people need group dynamics to make that happen. He did that shit by himself. Like, so I just don't know. I don't know, like, what the code is for. And I think that there are certain cults, and again, I've been called a cult leader a million times, but I can easily see getting an alpha male to do something, because all you have to do, what they train you to do, is use people's strength against them. So if you're an alpha male, right? I know this guy's an alpha male, and now his entire ego is wrapped, his whole identity is wrapped around this concept of the alpha male. So if I want to get that guy to kill himself, you just make it about whether or not you have the intestinal fortitude to do it or not. You go like, most people aren't brave enough to do this, blah, 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 blah. And that'll get the alpha male guy going, what the fuck? Like Peter. Oh, I'll do anything. Like, Jesus could have got Peter to do anything he wanted. As a matter of fact, Jesus did do that with Peter. Right? He said, hey, guys, get a sword.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he said that.
Right? Like, I fully believe that Jesus completely
What's the name of that documentary?
Which one?
The one we've been talking about this whole time.
I don't know. Something about, like, Cult of Cults or something like that. I forgot what it's called.
It's
why?
on
Somebody want to know?
Yeah, people were asking.
No, it's not on Netflix. It's on HBO Max. But my point is that, like, if you look at Jesus' disciples, like, they were alpha dogs like Peter.
Yeah.
Then they were what we would call beta males like John, and I don't think there's one personality type that gets sucked into a cult. I think the Navy.
Yeah, you could be right.
Like Navy SEALs, for example.
Yeah.
Like, those are all alpha males who are being completely and totally manipulated, and they use that identity to manipulate them. So, the entire Bud's experience is one giant psychological operation.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to find is who is irrationally devoted to following orders. Mm-hmm. So you push the person's body to the maximum breaking point, and if they're still willing to do all these crazy machinations that's why in other selection courses they're not like that. Other selection courses are more geared toward proficiency and things like that, because you're trying to get guys to do these singular things. But I think the whole mystique around Navy SEALs and all that, and when you get to DevGru, you go, oh, wait a second, because again, and that's why a lot of these dissidents, you'll get a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the people who like turn against the government and do all this stuff come from these tier 1 groups. These tier 1 operators are like, wait a second, and then they turn. They're actually more dangerous as far as turning against the government than a guy in general special operations.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense though.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, So my point is there isn't one personality type that gets sucked into a cult. Anyone can get sucked into the cult based on what's happening in their life.
Yep.
And good leaders are leaders who are able to. This is one of the things I've never said to anybody, but one of the markers of a good leader is able to provide explanatory power for why you are the way you are and why you've experienced life the way that you have. And if you can be the source or the locus of that explanation and that validation, people will literally die for you. They will literally die for you. So if you say, the reason your entire life, you say things like your entire life you just felt something was off and you didn't quite fit in.
Yeah.
And you were always kind of on the sides, and and who does that not fit in with? You get the nerdy kid, obviously that fits it in. You get the popular guy, that fits within. You're in a crowd, but you feel lonely, blah blah blah. There's a reason for that. And then boom, here.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And people are like, holy shit.
You're a scary person, Vin. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, this sounds like folks are ready to die, So, anyway, what do you give the song?
9 point. No, it's a 9. 9.
This is a solid 9 for me as well. Really, really, really good song. Shout out to everybody in the audience.
The echo discussion? No. Are we echoing?
I don't know.
Double audio, someone's saying.
What is this echo discussion about today? Double audio? I don't know.
Let's just end it and then we'll figure that out.
Yeah. That's the Dracula manipulation skill. So anyway, there you are.
9s all around.
Yeah, listen, 9s all around. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.